Okay, so this is a tier list that OmniPoke made for Sword and Shield The Revolving Skies format. There are probably going to be decks that I want to put on a tier list, or that I would put on a tier list, that are not on here, but OmniPoke already made this beautiful tier list, and I'm going to be lazy and not make my own with a couple extra decks added, so we're just going to use his. So if there are decks that I want to talk about, I will just say where I would put them if they were on here. There also might be some decks on here that I don't add to the tier list, or I just have multiple decks represented by one image. Let's start with some of the obvious ones to like kind of actually let's you know, making a tier 1.5 has kind of caught on to me recently. I used to not like making a tier 1.5, but now I kind of like making them because it's for the decks that I think are currently in tier 2 but have some potential to move up. Okay, so this format isn't even here yet, so I don't think I'm going to make a tier S, so we'll just leave that there. So straight Umbreon VMAX will use as our tier 1.5er. Shadow Rider Cali will use as our tier 1er. Actually, we'll use Ice Rider Cali because that's like the definitive tier 1 deck. There you go. Umbreon as tier 1.5. I think Leafeon VMAX is as tier 2 as a deck gets. And what here is actually like usable, but also tier 3. Like some of these decks are just poo-poo. What is a tier 3 deck on this? Rapid Strike Malimar? No, Rapid Strike Malimar is probably better than that. We'll say Duraludon. Duraludon. 3 will basically be Rogue as well. Because I feel like Rogue is a lot of times just a nice way of saying the deck's tier 3. So, these will be our tiers for now. If I really need a tier S, we'll make one. Or if I need extra tiers. Anybody remember that tier list Tord made that had like 27 tiers? Because he like definitively put where each deck was different than the other. So he had like so many decks in just their own tiers. Okay. So Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, I think, is tier 1 because it's consistent, aggressive, has high damage output, has the Inteleon engine, which just makes decks consistent. Yeah, Ice Rider Calyrex. And also remember, guys, I've been testing this format a lot, so this isn't all just theory. I've actually been testing this format like OmniPoke did for their tier list video they made, and for this tier list, which they made actually too. So this is from testing experience, and just from general testing experience, I feel like Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX is one of the like poster tier 1 decks, at least according to my testing, according to the discussion and theory that I've been doing, and to, it seems like, other people's testing as well. Yeah, if a Rogue deck is known about, probably not Rogue. Might be bad. Sag. Also, guys, if you're new to my tier lists, I like to make them look like a bell curve, because that's how a tier list should be. There should be a few decks at the top, a few decks at the bottom, and most decks probably fall somewhere in the middle. But really, we don't have a bottom here, which would be tier 4. I guess we could make a tier 4, and then we'll actually look how it should. Yeah, we'll add a row below. There we go. Tier 4. And can we change the color, please? There we go. And tier S, we haven't even really played the format in like a real tournament or metagame or anything, so like we don't have a tier S in my opinion. Okay, so yeah, Ice Rider Cali is tier 1. I really don't think there's any disputes with that. Zacian Inteleon I think this also feels like tier 1 at the moment. Is the tier list ordered? I may order it after I put the decks in there, but it's not going to be ordered as I'm tossing the decks in. I think Shadow Rider Alchemy is tier 1 according to my testing at least. And I think Rapid Strike Urshifu is tier 1. So these are the 4 decks I currently feel like are in tier 1. Does anybody have thoughts on that? Where's Mad Party? Mad Party's not on here. I haven't tried Mad Party in post-rotation. I don't know if anybody has tried Mad Party in post-rotation. Yeah, I think Joe just used Chilling Reign and Inteleon for all of the Inteleon images. That's fine. And again, yeah, Octillery. You don't have to play Octillery, but a lot of Japanese lists play like a 1/1 Octillery, and I do see some value in that. When I'm talking about a deck, it's probably going to be based off of the lists that are in my Google Drive. So if you're watching live on Twitch, !EVS decks. And if you're watching on YouTube, I will have the Google Drive link in the description. And that's all the lists I have built currently for the Sword and Shield through Evolving Skies standard format, which the rotation happens on September 10th. Zacian has a good matchup versus Ice Rider and versus Shadow. I currently don't know what I think about its Rapid Strike matchup. So, yeah, Victini. So Joe has added 4 different Victini decks here. I don't necessarily... I just would rather use a picture of Victini, but I guess we'll use a picture of Victini with Umbreon, maybe? Because, yeah, like I said, I haven't built Victini myself, but I think it has potential. Maybe Victini Hammers. We'll just put this here to represent all Victinis. I think that's where it goes. And yeah, I think this is all I'm putting in tier 1. Rayquaza feels good enough to be there. Yeah, I don't want to include 2 different Victinis. I guess we'll just include the Umbreon one. What do you think is like actually going to be popular, chat? Do you think this will be the one that people are playing at first, or do you think Hammers will be the one people are playing at first? You can just say Umbreon or Hammers in the chat. Okay, we'll take the Hammers out. I think you're also trying to speak it into existence that Hammers aren't a thing, and I respect that. Everybody in chat, it's like quick type Umbreon so nobody plays Hammers. But yeah, I think Victini is held down by Ice Rider probably being the most popular deck when we go into post-rotation. Okay, so this is what I have as tier 1.5 so far. I kind of want to put Urshifu Moltres here as well. Yo, what's up, Sonny? What's crack-a-lackin', baby? Honestly, I'm not sure if any of these decks are better than Leafeon VMAX. Okay, am I a Leafeon VMAX simp, or wait, am I not allowed to say simp, or are you guys not allowed to say it in chat? I don't know, Twitch made some rule. Am I a Leafeon VMAX simp, or is, like, what's going on here, guys? Because, like, I kind of feel like not all of those cards are better than Leafeon, or all those decks are better. Yeah, but the thing is, I don't know if, like, I think it's tier 2, and maybe tier 1.5 just needs to be deleted. Okay, so Joe has Sylveon on here with Octillery and Blaziken, and I don't like that, so Urshifu Moltres is going to represent Urshifu Moltres and Sylveon Urshifu Moltres, just with Urshifu Moltres as the core. So Rayquaza VMAX, yeah, I don't think Rayquaza VMAX is tier 1. It's definitely strong, though. Yeah, Zamazenta does seem cool, but I haven't tested it. But Zamazenta seems like it could be tier 2. Yeah, Leafeon's probably tier 2. So I think Zamazenta could be tier 2 as well, but let's finish 1.5 here. Umbreon Eternatus, tier 1.5 or tier 2? I think tier 2 for, we'll just say all Eternatus decks. But let's get some chat opinions on Eternatus. I think it's fine at tier 2. I'm not sure it's better than Rayquaza. Taking out your emotions of Eternatus being an inconsistent pile, objectively, where do you think it lands? You think Eternatus is the same as Ray, but does that mean Eternatus is tier 2? Or, I mean, does that mean Ray is tier 2, or does that mean Eternatus is 1.5? Yeah, I'm not even going to add the other ones, because I mean, yeah, you play a Moltres or 2 probably in Eternatus with Umbreon, but I think you have to play it with Umbreon. So let's finish up the 1.5s. Well, let's look at the matchups here for the tier 2 decks. Etern doesn't like Ice Rider. Etern's fine against Zacian. Etern's great against Shadow. Etern is not good against Urshi. Seems fine, but it keeps it, those matchups keep it from being tier 1 for sure. Urshifu Moltres just has a little bit of a consistency problem compared to straight Urshifu. But Shadow Rider is better with the Moltres, but I don't think the Moltres really gives you a lot of value elsewhere. So these decks are, this was a tier list made by Omnipoke, and a lot of the decks, he like put the images of all the cards into the images, so if you need to know what any decks are, we can help you out. Ray or E-Turn? I think E-Turn gets where it needs to be a little quicker. But Rayquaza actually has potential to one-shot an Eternatus, where Eternatus can't one-shot a Rayquaza. And Rayquaza doesn't have weakness, which is a big thing too. Yeah, very true. So I think that's it for the tier 1.5s. Yeah, dragon decks have dragon Pokemon that are being printed now have no weaknesses. I guess Shadow Rider decks without Alchemy would probably be... No, they're probably tier 2. They're probably tier 2. Alright, yeah, that's going to be it for tier 1. 0.5, tier 1.5. So, let's see. We have Victini Umbreon. Victini is just going to be naturally good against VMAX decks and Zacian. So, basically, against most decks, in theory, if it can consistently get its game plan, which is turn 1 attach to Victini, turn 2 evolve attach boss up a V. And if the opponent has a hard time recovering from that, it will probably succeed. And then Umbreon VMAX allows you to gust without using boss. So I think that definitely adds something to the deck. Straight Umbreon with single strike Urshifu and Houndoom. I actually might lower this to tier 2. It does have some consistency issues of being of having 2 main stage 1s and then a backup stage 1, but because you're gusting on evolution and you really don't need to play boss's orders a lot, yeah, I think we'll put this in tier 2 to be safe for now. Why does Ice Rider get so much better rotation? Well, Ice Rider's tier 1 now, and it's tier 1 rotation. Other decks lose some stuff or have to get more simple, and Ice Rider doesn't lose anything except reset stamp. Rayquaza VMAX, very strong, has uncapped damage potential, but it's weak to Urshifu decks because of the Flaffies. So that's going to be a big thing keeping it into tier 1.5, is that it's weak to Urshifu decks. Urshifu Moltres, like we talked about, Urshifu Moltres is going to have an edge against Shadow Rider, and it can also have some really impressive games where you Rapid Flow, and then you Moltres Energy Switch Rapid Flow again. But I think the Galarian Moltres package makes it just a little less consistent than the Inteleon, like the Inteleon possibly 1/1 Octillery engine. And then Umbreon VMAX Eternatus, but really Eternatus Umbreon. This is just going to be what the Eternatus we know now, except there's going to be like a 2/2 Umbreon in it. And Eternatus is already one of the top 10 decks in current standard. It really doesn't lose much, and it gains Umbreon VMAX. I have not tested Rapid Strike Mally in post-rotation yet. So if you have any thoughts on Rapid Strike Malamar for the rotation, please start typing them in chat. I'd love to hear some feedback. Okay, yeah, so I think that's going to be all of tier 1.5. And I will say, I think Rapid Strike Urshifu probably has the most potential to be tier S, but we don't need a tier S when the format isn't even started yet. Maybe we do. If I thought it was that overtly powerful, I'd toss it up there, but I don't think it's that overtly powerful. So tier 2, we've got Umbreon VMAX Houndoom, and now this is specifically my list. I think my list is pretty good for it, and again, the Google Drive link has my lists for just about every deck we're talking about. Leafeon VMAX, we talked a lot earlier in the stream about it, but I think it's just a very, very consistent deck. I think Zamazenta V Walls definitely has potential to be good. Seems like it should be great against Ice Rider, great against Shadow Rider, potentially great against Urshifu. Ice Rider, maybe they had Path to the Peak, but if you're playing Rusted Shield, they're not going to be playing any more than maybe one Tool Scrapper at the most. So yeah, Zamazenta, I'll put in tier 2. Would I pair Zamazenta with Duraludon? No, I would probably just do like 4 Zamazenta and a couple Zacian. I know Omnipoke have talked about Zamazenta V as a tank deck, but I'm actually not sure if they've like made a list for it on their channel or tested with it or anything yet. They may have, and I just missed it. V-Union isn't coming out for some time yet, so we're not really concerned with that. This is for the format that starts on September 10th with the standard format rotation. V-Union isn't until like October or something. But yeah, we're not concerned with that because they're not coming out yet. What else is in tier 2? Probably other Shadow Rider decks. So we can probably just put Shadow Rider Path to the Peak in here, and that can just account for all of it. Like non-Alchemy Shadow Rider decks. The Suicune box style thing that I was showing earlier. Of course, mine's a little bit more fancy, but this image gets the job done. It's Suicune and Altaria with Aurora Energy for Galarian Zapdos. Yeah, Glaceon tier 2. Now, while I haven't tried this out, I did watch Omnipoke's gameplay with it. And also heard some of their opinions on Glaceon VMAX. So I think I'm comfortable with saying that could be tier 2. Of course, a lot of this is theory. A lot of it is testing. But tier 2 seems about fine for that deck. So is Glaceon on the proxy website? Yeah, exclamation proxies. That's in the Google Drive for sure. Decidueye. How does Decidueye do against everything up here? Ice Rider and Teleon's close if they're not playing Chilling Reign and Teleon. It beats Zacian if they're not playing an Aegislash. It should beat Shadow Rider unless I'm missing something. Probably not great against Urshi. Should beat Victini. Should beat Rayquaza. Should beat Urshifu Moltres. Should beat Eternatus Umbreon. Decidueye might find itself in tier 2. It loses Rosa, but it gains Raihan. They only have 50 HP Rowlet. But why does that matter if Inteleon's not coming down until turn 3? Oh, it matters against Shadow. It matters against Shadow. But once you get a single Decidueye finally evolved with, it's not like Malamar, where if they keep knocking out your Engage, you're falling behind. Once you get a Decidueye out, and you get a big Parasol, then you're cool, then you're fine, right? I think Decidueye should be tier 2. Yo, Vince with tier 1 for 15 months. Thank you so much, man. Hmm. Let's start filling out the other tiers. Actually, I think Duraludon's just so bad. I'm putting that in 4. I'm putting Malamar in 3. But is this as bad as Blissey? No. So let's add a 5th tier. Jolteon tier 2. I haven't seen anything from Jolteon to make me consider a tier 2 yet. The 10K was an experience. I'm glad you had an experience, bro. What I'm doing is I'm going to separate the decks if I think there's a noticeable difference between them. I saw the picture a bunch, yeah. We're getting a tier 2.5 in here, I think. Urshifu Chinchino Altaria, I guess, is a deck in Japan. Or a deck that Joe and Jack came up with. Alright, let me hear why Dragapult is tier 1.75. Let me hear. This is RS Urshi with Metacham. Just RS Urshi just has Metacham by default. Because these are based off of my Google Drive lists if I have a list for the deck. And like, these aren't even decks. Yeah, I'm just not even using those, I don't think. For post-rotation or current standard, Vince, all of my post-rotation stuff is available right here on that Google Drive. And we talked about it earlier in the stream if you want to go back and watch the VOD as well. Yeah, no problem, buddy. So, do we have any legitimate complaints about this list? Actually, we're dropping this down here. Flareon, no. 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 No Flareon, guys. Look at the Flareon. Look at it. You have to discard cards from the top of your deck and hope they're energy just to do some damage with a 3 energy attack on a VMAX. You can't tell me that that does anything. What does this do? I mean, this has Blaziken in it. So we're assuming this is some Rapid Strike box that does not include Urshifu. And this is, like, I guess you can toss Sylveon, Urshi, Moltres into, like, tier 2 if I had a picture for it. Yeah, you're right. With Blaziken, that should be tier 4. I agree. Any good companies for playmats? I do not know. If Jolteon's tier 2.5, wouldn't that mean Dragapult is as well? Or maybe they're both just tier 3. Yeah. Metachamp, could you tell me what... Oh, Metachamp, I still owe you codes from a giveaway. Please add me on PTCGO and let me know what your IGN is. Yeah, like... Why play Dragapult other than the Urshifu matchup? Okay, so let's look at it this way. Dragapult's going to be good against Urshi. Dragapult's going to be good against Rayquaza because of Flaffies, potentially. Good against Decidueye. Good against Glaceon. Maybe good against Glaceon. Good against Altaria engines. You think Jolteon's tier 2? I think Jolteon, Teleon, and Draga and Teleon move together. Like, if they're both tier 3, then... If, like, if one's tier 3, I think they're both tier 3. Yo, what's up, 6-7? What's up, Connor? Surprised Rillaboom isn't a part of this. Like, Rillaboom VMAX or, like, Stage 2 Rillaboom with, like, a grass toolbox. So, I think Rillaboom Stage 2 has... Yeah, Rillaboom Delmise, I think that has potential, but I haven't made a list yet for it, and I haven't seen anybody make a list yet for it. I do have some pretty kooky ideas. Yeah, Zacian and Teleon tier 1, I think. Tier 1.5 at the lowest. Jolteon can play Cheryl, though. It can. Yeah. But you have to get the damage down prior to the attack. Dragapult, you don't. There's pros and cons to both. Dragapult can shred. It can hit Decidueye, it can hit Glaceon, it can hit Zamazenta. Jolteon can't. So to order the top tiers in order, we're going to do this. Oh, okay, Metacham. I'll send you your prizes then. No, I'm not doing tier lists for all formats, just for post-rotation standard. What would come next in Leafeon, Level Ball, or Incense? Incense. Yeah, I think Incense. I haven't played the Gym Leader Challenge format. The Urshi has Octillery and Inteleon paired with it. You don't have to have Octillery, though. That's just the image that OmniPoke made. My list in the Google Drive is how I like to play it right now. Exclamation EVS Dex for that. But you can't play a 1-1 Octillery, and it makes sense because it searches out your Rapid Strike energy, but Raihan also searches out your Rapid Strike energy. What were you using to get set up, Connor, with Rillaboom Delmise? Because I do think it has potential. Like, if OmniPoke had tossed it onto this list, I probably would have put it in, like, 2.5. I just haven't played it myself. I haven't seen a list. I haven't made a list yet for it. Raihan searches your deck for any one card. So that any one card can be a Rapid Strike. It accelerates a basic energy from the discard. Peony at first, but went back to Skyla? Okay, cool. Yeah, if it's on the Play Limitless, I can just take a look at the list that you had on there, Connor. That's fine. Yeah, I think this is where my list is going to end. I think that's good. Do you think Glacius 2 and not 2.5? From what I've seen from OmniPoke's testing and list, it seems like a more coherent deck than Urshi, Cinccino, Altaria, and also than Victini with Aurora energies, because I think you lose a lot from not using Capture Energy with Victini and Umbreon with Victini. And then also Malamar has the glaring weakness of getting its Inkays knocked out by Astral Barrage, or just getting destroyed by Rapid Strike, even though on paper it should win. And I also agree with Team Abra that, like, Zamazenta, Glaceon, and Desi have obvious similarities. So I until I see reason not to just move them together, I think they kind of go together. Darkbox lost the whole box with rotation. It lost Weavile GX. It lost all the GXs, and that was the whole Darkbox. Desi loses harder to Rapid Strike. Yeah, but you can make that argument for all of them. Desi loses to Rapid Strike. Glaceon loses to Ice Rider because it plays 3 to 4 Path to the Peak. Zamazenta loses to Victini Dex because it has a basic fire attacker that's not a VMAX. Zamazenta deck, in theory, would be like 4 Zamazenta, 1 or 2 Zacians, multiple Rusty Shields. The new Metal Stadium that lets you heal 30 from all of your Metal and Dragon Pokemon once a turn. Maybe Pokemon Center Lady. Reggie Drago for Grass Fire does 240 damage, minus 20 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. But the Pokemon has 130 HP. It's not going to have a lot of damage on it, or 120 HP, whatever it is. So you just use Cherim to accelerate Grass, and then manual attach Fire. I have gameplay of it on my channel, I think. I've definitely talked about it on YouTube before. And we played it during a stream as well. Yeah, so Zam and Glaceon are weak to Path, while Desi is weak to Rapid Strike Urshi. So I think they both have, both categories of those decks have their issues. Yeah, so using the decks that Omnipoke put into this tier list, that's where I'm at with it. Yeah, Flaffy's down here with Reggie Lackey, but it could also be with the non-V, the non-rule box Zekrom, but all Zekroms are non-rule box. The Zapdos from Vivid Voltage. Just a bunch of non-V Lightning Pokemon. What lists did you want to add? Well, I would specify a Sylveon Urshi Moltres deck and put that into 2 or 2.5. I'd put that into 2. Let's see what else I have. I'd probably put a Bronzong box in tier 3 for now, because I don't even know what it would look like yet. I'd put Jolteon VMAX or Beetle VMAX in tier 3. What other decks do we have? I'd put Single Strike Urshifu VMAX without Umbreon into tier 3. Inteleon VMAX? Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I'd probably put Inteleon VMAX and Inteleon in tier 2.5. Can Jolteon play Pincurchin? It doesn't have anything else to do turn 1, right? I mean, you could play Snorlax Vivid Voltage in it. That's what I play in my Jolteon Orbeetle list. Isn't the Battle Styles one the better Coco? No, the Sword and Shield Coco is better. It does 200 for 3. It possibly could Barrow Cloth. I don't think it would work as good as a Bronzong box would, though. The Spread Noivern. That you might be able to do something crazy with that, with Sable IV and Galarian Moltres. I mean, I think Sable IV, Galarian Moltres, and Teleon, like Ice Rider on Drive is not updated. The Cinccino one or the Inteleon one? I thought it was updated, but I could be wrong. Sendacondo VMAX, I'd probably put that in tier 3 for now, just because I don't think it's stronger than, like, tier 2 max, probably. But I also haven't tested it myself to know, really. Let me see. What was I... Oh, the spread and telling on V. Yeah. Let me bring up my Sable IV Moltres deck to just reference that real quick. Okay, so this deck could potentially survive rotation. Obviously, it loses the Roxy stuff, but that's all it loses, right? Pretty much. I guess it loses Viridian Forest too, but so you would have to play, like, max out your researches in place of the Roxy, play some Zinnia's Resolve, and then maybe play like 3 Aurora Energy, 6 or 7 Dark. And you can play the new Noivern V that just spreads 20 to everything, and play like maybe, I don't even know if you'd play Telescopic Sight. You probably don't even need that. So you'd play Aurora Energies for the Noivern V. That would also allow you to play Galarian Zapdos, maybe. Like, the deck's kind of forming in my head, so that probably has potential. Would there be a reason to play Pincurchin? Oh, Pincurchin's only to V Pokemon, right? Or Roblox Pokemon or something? And Noivern V does 20 to everything, has no weakness, 200 HP. Free retreat as well. That's a big one. Yeah, that definitely Noivern V because it has free retreat. Free retreat's a big reason. Yeah, so I tossed this into tier 3 as well. And that's going to be the end of the tier list. So if you're watching on YouTube at a later time, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for daily Pokemon TCG content and check out PotownStore.com. And if you're watching live, do the same things I told the people in the future watching the video to do. Make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. And I'll put the Potown link in the chat here before we wrap things up for the night.